What sort of people do we want to be as we emerge from lockdown? I'm rather more interested in that question than I am in some of the more ambitious narratives that we've been seeing on the news and on social media about needing to build an entirely different country, a new way of governing, a new way of political and social discourse. I'm rather more interested in the personal questions about who we are, who we wish to bring out of lockdown as we emerge blinking into the sunlight when we're eventually released. The more personal question is a rather more difficult one to answer because it requires us to answer what kind of person was I who went into lockdown? What kind of person will I be emerging from lockdown? And are the two different? Do they need to be different? And if so, how? I'm preparing my sermon for this Sunday, the Emmaus Road Gospel, the disciples who walk away from Jerusalem with their hopes shattered and are then encountered on the road by the consoling, bracing and challenging presence of the risen Christ, who won't let them stay locked in their grief and their broken dreams, but breaks bread with them and then sends them back to the city from which they've fled. And they're different when they get back into the city, and it's evident. So how are we going to be different as individuals and as a church community, as Christians and as citizens when we emerge from this? Because we may not be able to affect the meta-narrative of how our government happens, how our society orders itself, how we continue to respond to those problems that will still be there when we emerge from lockdown, problems of environment, problems of social injustice and inequality. What we can affect is the kind of people that we are going to be as we emerge into a very different world, a world of greater financial stringency, a church that has to be a great deal more agile and lean, has to ask itself hard questions about what it learnt during this time of lockdown that was authentic about its ministry. Now, we can be part of that debate. We can be part of that reflection. But crucially, what we need to bring to it is a sense of our own selves, our own soul. So what have you learned in the past few weeks? What's been painful and what's been hopeful? What's been challenging and what's been life-giving? If you've got time, and let's face it, we've all got time, then spend a bit of that time reflecting on your soul and on questions of the different you, if there will indeed be a different you, who emerges from this crisis. It would be depressing, wouldn't it, if it hadn't changed us in any way for the better, and if it was the same old when we go back to our daily lives. It won't be economically and socially, but it might be for ourselves, for our church. And then we can truly be the salt, the yeast, the light that the world needs the church to be.